everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope everyone's having a beautiful, beautiful day. Hope you're having a beautiful Saturday evening and enjoying the gifts and the blessings that is today. The energy of the planet and the beautifulness of the full moon. I just got home from a beautiful evening with my friend Russell Paul, and I haven't seen him. And since Mike, shortly before Mike left his body, and he was a beautiful, hi Kadar, I love you, a beautiful support to me when Mike transitioned out of his body a few years ago. And I'll discuss perhaps a practice a little bit later that he gave me, and I think it would be perfect during what our mind is considering some challenging times, and I'm going to start calling them, as I said earlier today, interesting times. He was reflecting tonight as I was reflecting a lot earlier today myself, and taking a lot of time in reflection and contemplation today about the importance of going deep now with our spiritual practices and how important that is as the times they are a-changing, and just really understanding the importance of really digging in deep. If we're on the surface level of our practices, no matter what your practice is, it could just be anything as your practice, but we need to dig in deep and go deep so we're not affected by whatever's going on externally, as all things shall pass that are not meant to be, and the things that I reflect on, anything that's not permanent will be fleeting. If you're having a thought, it'll probably, or a feeling, perhaps a feeling will go away probably in a few minutes or an hour. Those things that are very temporary and very not permanent, obviously, and how we don't get attached to those things. And there's such a freedom in the whole non-attachment. And the beautiful practice that Russell Paul gave to me when I was going through my grief was wherever, when you're very stressed, going somewhere outside, preferably where you can be in nature, but if you perhaps even can't be in nature, is putting your hands up and just surrendering whatever you are that's challenging you, and say, I can't do this on my own. God, universe, nature, whatever your belief system is, please take that from me, and just see how that works. And even if it's every 2 minutes or every 5 minutes, and how important it also is to come back to your breath. And I think every time that we come back to our breath and remember our breath, that becomes a more powerful practice for us. Is there, want to talk about anything, Kadar? I don't know who else is here, but would you like to talk about anything? Is there anything you want to talk about? So, I'm always guided to go places, and I don't really plan to do anything necessarily. So, Russell Paul, who's a beautiful mystic, a beautiful kirtan performer, I'll perhaps put some links later so you can experience him yourself through YouTube. You know, that he was discussing just how important, thank you, how important your practice is. Hi Ronnie, I love you. And the whole idea of having that practice and really just really embracing it right now. Hi Silvio, I love you. How do you move on through your grief? What was a breakthrough for you? I think totally surrendering to it and not resisting it and just embracing it. And I think if we embrace every situation, and just leaning on what we know is permanent, and for me, it's that sense of my spiritual practices. And it's interesting for me because a lot of people really lose faith, and I think for a moment it's probably pretty normal to waver on those things, but I think if we don't get stuck in that because it's easy to get stuck and be so sucked away from that, and keep coming back to the practice and really fully embracing that whole experience, and doing the things that you know are good for your soul or what your soul needs. I hate the words good and bad, because to me everything just is, and I was speaking with Russell Paul about that tonight afterwards when I went up and spent some time with him, and in gratitude and love for his presence in my life during those challenging first days and weeks. But I think, really embracing it and surrendering to it and understanding that that too shall pass. Everything that is false is going to pass and be gone. It's not going to be permanent, and just knowing, I guess, and leaning and getting support from where support is, because there's plenty of places that you can reach out for support. Hi, Jerry, long time no see, my stranger. Coming back to those things. And people in our society say it takes a year to grieve, or it takes these things. And I think when we're having that constant input of perhaps that's what it needs to take. Hi, Michael. There's no time limit. And I think, and not subscribing to what people expect of it to be, because it's going to be different for everybody. And what was the breakthrough for me? I really leaned on my practices. And it was interesting because the people I was closest to walked out of my life during that time, and who the people that I considered to be my friends. And there was such a gift in that, because it left me alone to, I love you, to be in my suffering. And then just beginning to just breathe and breathe and breathe, and come back to my breath over and over and over again. And that beautiful practice that I was discussing earlier about Russell Paul, who gave me, that I was embracing grief until we heal. Yes, that's, but I think too, we also get stuck. We can get stuck. I don't want to say we're all getting stuck, but we can get stuck in that whole cycle of suffering, because it feels so comfortable to our ego, and it's easy to get stuck there instead of letting go of that and eventually going, okay, I'm not this grief, that's not who I am. My soul is always happy and always at peace and always full. And we get stuck in these places, and then it's really hard to get unstuck, because we're so stuck and we're so want to hang on to our suffering. And it's, the ego is a tricky thing. And then what I tell people, and maybe it's not the best advice, but I would do things where my ego is saying this, and then I would laugh at it and say, okay, I'm going to do the opposite of what you want me to do right now. Obviously, you don't put yourself in dangerous situations, but I think that's one of the beautiful things that I always challenged myself for many, many times to do. And it's coming to that place of peace. And, now's the time to really dig into the practices and to really come back to our power, our peace, and our presence. And the minute we start to get away from that, coming back to that over and over and over again, even if it's every 30 seconds, I've got to come back to my mantra, come back to my breath, come back to something, and not getting attached to anything that's external, because everything that's external is transient. It's not going to be here perhaps 2 minutes from now, 5 minutes, an hour from now. And just understanding that everything outside of you is, and even all your thoughts are not you. And just being able to step back and observe them a little and understand that you are, separate yourself. And the more you begin to observe those things, and doing a lot of self-care, perhaps, walking in nature right now is a beautiful time, especially here in Michigan, where I'm having a treat with my weather right now. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about? I'm ready to be of service. And I will put some links for Russell Paul, and I'm going to keep encouraging everyone to use Om Namah Shivaya right now, as I was told. I'm so by the Vedic astrologer that that's the mantra I'm supposed to be telling people to use, and I have permission to give that as a mantra to people. In the meantime, I'll do our reading for today, and then we'll meditate for a couple minutes. You did? How did it go for you, Ronnie? Did it work for you, or the attachment to non-self? Yes, we're very attached to this whole illusion that we're so comfortable, and I always tell people we're so comfortable in our discomfort. We become so comfortable we don't know what it's like to be at peace and to be free from our suffering. We resist that, and we resist that, and we resist that. I know Kedar's getting ready to move to India, which seems really exciting, but he's feeling nervous about it because it's a big transition, and it's moving from here all the way to India. It'll get easier. It's does feel difficult at first, and I think more you go into that mantra. Laura, you knew I was going to talk about grief. You do best when you lean on your grief or your practices. I have complicated feelings. And I think that's normal, Lori, the whole abandonment. We'll go back to what Kedar said in a moment, but about moving. I prefer my solitude and so relate and take comfort from your words. Thank you. Not sure how much I should have. Lori, I think grief is a very solitary journey. I had the blessing of everyone walking out of my life pretty much, and there was such a gift in that, to be alone with that grief and to embrace it and to allow yourself to experience it fully. I think oftentimes we tend to push grief away and to grab onto external things for happiness, and I think the blessing is to wrap yourself in that cloak and blanket of grief as you begin to heal. And it's different for everybody, and I know your loss was shocking. Like when Mike left his body, it was sudden, and those sudden losing someone so suddenly where you don't have that long drawn out process of saying goodbye perhaps in the way that you would want to while he was in his physical form. And I don't know if you were watching earlier when I said the one practice that I had never even mentioned to you that came back to me as I spent some time with someone who gave it to me, is even if it's every 30 seconds, putting your hands up to whatever is greater than you, what you call God, divine, nature, whatever you call that, and saying, I can't do this, please take this away from me. And even if it's every minute, and you can do that with anxiety, you can do that with anything that's causing suffering for you, and just turning it over and over and over. And when Russell Paul gave that practice to me, he said to try to do it outside, so something about that, or at least being able to see outside. And there'll be moments and days where it's going to be a lot more challenging to do that, obviously, than other days, and each moment's going to be so different. And just really wrapping yourself in that experience and not pushing it away, because we do push away anything that's uncomfortable. We push it away with getting focused on external things, grabbing onto other relationships, grabbing onto perhaps buying things, food. We want to not feel that. So I think that's your challenge, is to fully embrace that. And I know you feel abandoned, and because a lot of people don't know how to handle grief, and there is gifts in that. As I read, when everyone walks out of your life, you should look at that as a gift, because that leaves you alone with God, or leaves you alone with whatever you call it's greater than yourself. And I do, there's something to be said about solitude, where you do have time to be alone with your feelings and your experience, and to embrace those things as everything it's, you know, it's a process, and 1 minute from the next minute it's going to be different. And just knowing that, you know, ultimately you're not your thoughts and you're not your feelings, and those are all impermanent. And then Kadara, with your move to India, I think that practice even for you of going outside with your anxiety, or even inside, and saying, please take this anxiety, because moving to India and coming from the Western culture, I mean, you weren't here from, obviously, from here originally, but going back to that culture and having that be so different, that's a grief in a sense too. A grief, it's a loss in the sense of losing what you identified with of here to a whole new experience. And, you know, even I think grief plays part of fear of the unknown, because we're going from things that we've known, and we've, you know, it's all to something else, and you have to grieve the loss of being here as you change and you move to a whole new experience and a whole new adventure, and not being attached to how things used to be. I think that helps all of us, is not being attached, and how you move. What is my passion? My passion is helping everyone become awakened and heal, and that is the only because, you know, I chose to stay in this body after my accident, and you know, I chose to be of service and to stay here to help people. When I was meeting with my neuropsychologist right after the karmic event, and he said, you know, you chose to stay in this body. You are one of the very handful of people that chose to reincarnate into the same body. And he goes, you won't find anyone else really who did that, because there's only a handful of people, and you that did that to be of service to others. And I just want to help as many people as I can to awaken to the truth of who they are. I think this is an exciting time to be able to do that, to just love each other and help everyone remember who they are. And a lot of times that's met with a lot of resistance as I reflect on that, because a lot of people want to run away when they meet unconditional love. It's scary. They think it's not real, or you're doing that to, if your hook's in them, or you're being so loving for, hi Heidi, you're being so unconditionally loving for some reason that's, you know, not authentic, and it's scary to people, because a lot of times I'm with people and they're like, stop looking at me like that, and I don't know how I'm looking at people, and perhaps I'm looking at people as they are God, because everyone to me is God showing up in human form, and people aren't their actions. And how do you not use anger as a cover for tears and utter hopelessness? I think, you know, ultimately, you know, there's love and there's fear, I think, and that's the thing. And I think fear often shows up as being angry, and I think if we can, because ultimately it's love and fear. Those are the two things. There's two spectrums. That's all there is. So I think, and Muji would get mad at me because I'm saying I think. I should just be saying what is. I'm trying not to say that so much. So I think, I'm saying it again. If you just identify that this is not love, what I'm feeling these two things. And it's okay to use anger as a cover. It's okay to cry and know that you're never hopeless. Your soul is never hopeless. That's your ego that wants you to play small and to make you feel hopeless, because the ego is a very slippery, tricky thing. And just coming back to that place where you are, you know, I've shifted, so I'm angry right now. I've shifted away from love. How am I misperceiving this situation? Because if it's not love, it's a misperception. And oftentimes we can't see the bigger picture, and I know everything that's happening is all God's will and all been predetermined so long ago, and that helps me and stay in that place of love. And I don't know any other way to be at this point. I've tried to get angry, and it's very fleeting, and sometimes it's frustrating because I would like to get mad at someone maybe just to see I can't even do those things anymore. Which is kind of funny. So I think, if you step back when you're starting to experience those feelings of anger and you say, okay, take a few deep breaths, and what is going on with my thought process that's making me feel angry, or what is it triggering in perhaps a past experience in me, or why am I feeling helpless right now? And how can I change how I'm looking at the situation to make it more of a shifted into love? Or how can I use this situation to be of service to someone else or service to the greater good? I don't know, Lori. I'm not trying. It's just Lori just said, how do you be so cute and wise at the same time? I don't know. So Kadar is moving to India after 17 years in the United States. Does anyone have any advice for him besides I would be excited because it's a new opportunity to share your love with other people, and knowing that that's your karma. Thanks, Kadar. Kadar agrees with you, Lori. And just, Kadar, I would embrace and know that that's your karma to move back to India to be of service there. And I know you're going there to be of service to your mother. And that is such a beautiful gift to be able to do. And find a way. You're obviously going there to be of service to her. And really, that is such a gift to be able to do that. Does anyone else have anything to ask about? I know, Lori and I would both love to move to India. Wouldn't that be fun? I'm waiting to be able to travel to India, and that's on my bucket list, and it'll happen when it's the right time, which obviously is not right now, as I keep saying. I'm supposed to be here right now to help people here. Anyone else have anything they want to talk about on this beautiful Saturday evening? The moon is almost full. So blessed. I'm excited and worried both. Happy to be joining an adventure in an environmentally friendly business. Well, see, there's your gift. You can help us all make the environment better, and I can't wait to hear more about that. Ronnie wants to move to India, so you're going to get a big place, and we're all going to move in with you. So we're going to all move in with Kadar, and he's, we'll all be in his environmentally friendly business. So I encourage Ronnie to keep using your mantra. At first it seems a little clumsy to use it. I was reading one of my posts. I don't know if I reposted it today. It might have been, but just knowing, because my mantra has become such a part of me over the past many years, of if you start doing it now where it feels because it's going to probably trip you up for a little while, but it gets to that place. I remember after my karmic event, being hysterical in the hospital and having that voice come to me and say, go to your mantra. And in that moment, all my fear and all my anxiety and all my crying went away, and I became calm and centered. And eventually, ideally, you want to have that mantra running pretty, even when you're driving or whatever, just saying your mantra where you don't have to sit and use it with the japa, because the japa at first is clumsy, and it's to use the mala, and just to keep coming back to it and keep coming back to it and keep coming back to it over and over and over again. And it gets to be that umbrella of protection and this interesting times, interesting and exciting times. I'm gonna call it. That's not interesting. I'm gonna make it exciting as well. Does anyone else have anything they want to ask or talk about? How can I be of service this evening? It's funny. If anyone wants to ask anything, I'll tell this funny story. So I went up to Russell Paul, and I hadn't seen him since 2013. And I reintroduced myself. Obviously, I can't expect someone who travels all over the world to remember my face or me. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, you look so different. I wouldn't have recognized you." And I thought that was so strange because I thought I looked the same. But he said, "You have so much happiness and peace." Mother does work in mysterious ways. We don't know why the things are occurring that are occurring. We just have to know that they're occurring for everyone's highest good. And I think right now, saying I think again, I know right now that it's all of our chance to grow bigger and more powerful in our love and our kindness and our compassion, and we can all be the change we want to see in the world right where we are. And I think that's the gift of this situation is this is our opportunity to not play small. Most of us get very complacent in our lives and don't really go out and plant seeds of love and plant seeds of light and be present in peace. Because you can go to a place and shift the whole energy of a whole entire room by just being in that place of peace and that place of love, and help people and leaving everybody better than how you found them, even if it's just for 30 seconds. And I was reflecting on what Mooji had said. He said, your presence should be the, I don't know exactly how he said it, I forgot, but be the proof, your presence should be the proof that God exists. So if God is a hard word for people, and I know some people it probably is hard for, but be the proof that love exists, to be the proof that goodness exists or compassion exists. We can be the living proof of that. I like to say I'm love in motion in every moment. And we can't know, to ideally know why something's happening now, we would have to know all of the history and all of the future of a person or a situation. And with our limited vision, we don't know each moment why that's happening. And I know a lot of people have soul agreements with certain people and certain karmas. And I was speaking, actually, when I was at Russell Paul, there was a man across the room from me, and it's an interesting story. Right after Mike left his body, Russell Paul, who I spoke with on the phone, connected me with someone whose wife had left her body probably 3 months before Mike left his. And we used to talk on the phone, and because of all the beautiful things that happened to me spiritually, I was blessed with Guru's grace to get past my grief quite quickly, and then I became the one who was helping him with his grief. And I was sitting across the room, and he doesn't live in Michigan, and I saw him, and I kept looking at him, and I didn't remember his name. I didn't remember his name before my karmic event because we stopped talking because obviously our karma was over with each other at that point in time. And so after Russell Paul was done with his mystic talk, I went over to him and I said, "Oh, I know you." And he looked at me. He did not recognize me at all, and we had met in person, even though he lived in Indiana. He came in for an event, and I had picked him up from the airport, and we had went to lunch one day. And he said, "Oh my gosh, you were on the fast track. The life that you picked was on the fast track to awakening and to help other people." And, that is my passion, to help as many people as I can. There's no amount of suffering that I am not willing to endure for other people to be free from suffering once and for all. And I think that's a beautiful gift, and all the beautiful experiences that I've had in this lifetime that I would not change a single moment for. Is anyone else? Hi, Amy. How are you? Is Anyone else have anything they want to talk about this evening? Anybody? All right, I'll do my reading, and then if anyone wants to talk, or we can do the reading and meditate, and then we can chat a little bit after. The reading for today is, your prayer should be to give them understanding. If we pray for others, is their karma taken away? Sri Gurudev. We are not praying to have the karma of others taken away. We pray so that they can get insight into their karma and get the strength to face it and purge it out. Your prayer should be for their strength and understanding. What you sow, you must reap. If they understand the cause and the benefit of the suffering, then they can easily bear it. Just because you say take their karma away, God is not going to listen to you and take their karma away. So our prayer should be to help them understand. So I think that is very beneficial right now, because people perhaps don't understand the bigger picture, or we're misperceiving them of not understanding the bigger picture oftentimes, because everyone does have that divine spark in them, and I know that everyone is working for what they perceive as the highest good, and they don't know how to be any different, and I think that's what is really important to remember during these times. Shall we meditate? Does anyone want to say anything before we meditate? All right, well, let's meditate for a couple minutes, and then if anyone else has anything to say, I'd be glad to listen and respond or read. All right, find a comfortable seat, whatever that means for you. Gently close your eyes. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Exhale out your mouth. Deep inhale through your nose. Exhale out your mouth. Perhaps calmly focusing on your breath. I'm inhaling now, I'm exhaling now. Using a mantra, perhaps just saying love, 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 or peace, peace, peace over again. Allowing any thoughts to just float by like clouds, not getting attached to them, observing them, letting them come and letting them go. And sitting here in silence. Sending some love and light wherever it's needed this evening. like to join in one closing Om, take a deep inhale. Have anything to talk about? Felt nice. How can we persevere in assisting someone who's suffering but doesn't seem to respond to our loving approach? I think if we just keep showing up with love. I watched a video of Martin Luther King Jr. today, and I did post it, where, you know, a lot of times people are resistant to love and are fearful of changing, and they're so big. If we just keep showing up with love and love and love and love and love and love, and even when you're not with the person, you can be sending them love. I have people in my life that are suffering and they're kind of perhaps resistant, not perhaps, they really are resistant to change, and they become so identified with that suffering that oftentimes all day long, I'll be sending them love and healing and light. And even asking their angels, hi Christine, happy Saturday, hi Jamie. Keep sending love and positive energy, and you know, we can persevere in supporting someone else but not judging them. I think that's where oftentimes we go wrong, is they misperceive our attempts of trying to help them move away from suffering as judgment. So we have to walk that fine line of just being loving presence and accepting people for where they're at, because oftentimes they're just become so identified with suffering, and the fear of change and the fear of unknown often keeps people stuck in that pattern of what they know. So just keep loving them and keep showing up and keep listening to them. Perhaps when, you know, they're talking, and I was in a relationship with someone, Mike, before he left his body, was very mentally ill, unfortunately, with bipolar disorder, and that caused him to drink and do things that were not that caused him a lot of suffering and the people around him. And the one benefit that I never judged that experience, and I just would love and love and love and love, and that's ultimately the only thing that's going to change someone's unconditional love. And, you know, we don't know, like I always say, we don't know someone's karma, why they're experiencing what they're experiencing, and their soul is obviously needing to go through those experiences, as all our souls are going through what we need to go through to grow in these beautiful ways and to blossom and to awaken, hopefully in this lifetime. Or at least grow as much as we can in this lifetime, and really just accept people for where they're at. Everyone's always doing the best they can in this moment, and then the next moment they'll do the best they can. So just keep loving and loving and loving, even if you're not physically with the person, and just keep telling them, I love you. And even if they don't want to hear it, say it anyways. I have people that don't necessarily want me to say I love them all the time, and I've made the mistake of stopping to tell them, and in hindsight, that's not what we should be doing either. The more resistant people are, perhaps, to love, the more they need love. Does anyone else have anything you'd like to talk about? So Silvio, just keep loving and loving and loving and loving, and the more you love, it's an endless supply, the more you have to give. And just know, no amount of loving someone is ever wasted. You can't just say, I wasted my love on this person. I love you too, Sylvia. I love you so very much. You are a gift to my life, my existence. So happy to know you. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say, talk about this evening? And how can I be of service? I'm here. All right. If anyone else has anything to say this evening, I want to say if people don't have someplace to go for Thanksgiving, and I know most of you don't live near Michigan, but you can hop on a plane, a train, or get in a car. You're welcome here always, day or night, any time of the week. You need a vacation, you can come crash here. The door is always open to everybody. All right, I'm still working on a conference call thing because I think that's important instead of typing, because it seems not as personal. I like to hear people's voices instead of just typing to me. All right, well, on that note, everybody, you are love, you are light, you are perfection, you are bliss. Loka samasta sukhanyu bhavantu. May the entire world be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Keep using some kind of mantra. Om Namah Shivaya is very powerful if someone wants to start that mantra. I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy mantra to use. Shiva likes to really shake things up, but it's all ego-based and false things. If you have a mantra that a guru has given you, please keep using that mantra. I will see everyone tomorrow. Have a beautiful night. If anyone wants to message me separately, I'm always eager to be of service, and keep shining your beautiful lights. We have to go deep with our practices right now to stay in that place of peace and power and be the change that we want to see in the world. I love you all. Have a beautiful night. Namaste. I'll talk to you all tomorrow.